Our second video for week 8 focuses on the zero product property, and this is going to help us to find the x-intercepts or the roots of the equation. So let's just review why is 0 such a special number. Well, look what happens when you add things to 0. You're just going to get the same number back again, right? When we add 0 to something, it's very easy. And it's even more important is when you multiply. Well, what is special about adding is you get the same number back. You get the same, I'm just going to put same, but I think you guys know what I mean. You get the same number back, right? Nothing changes. And thinking about adding, if I have two numbers and I'm going to add them together, A and B, she gets a sum of B. Well, what does that tell you about the other number? If A plus B equals B, then A must be what? It must be 0, right? Because 0 plus B equals B. Well, let's look at what happens when we calculate the product using 0. You guys already know all this. When I multiply by 0, I just get 0. That's pretty cool. Okay, you always get 0. That's what's so special. You always get, what's supposed to say get? You always get 0. And look what happens. What do you think is going to happen if Julia's thinking about two numbers? If she multiplies together, A times B equals 0. Well, what does that tell me? That tells me that A or B must be 0. A or B must be 0, because I could do 0 times B, or I could do A times 0. Either one is going to give me 0. So A or B must be 0. And that will apply, that's the zero product property, when I'm solving this equation. So we're going to go back to factoring, and we're going to rewrite this as a product equal to 0. So how did we learn to do this? This is all coming into play, everything we've learned so far, is we're going to take and create our little box. And the first number is going to go here, 2x squared. The last number is going to go here, 12. And when we multiply those together, we get negative 24x squared. And we want that bottom number is going to be 5x. That's the middle term, goes on the bottom. We have to think what numbers multiply together to give us 24 that adds to make 5. Well, let's see. I could do 6. Okay, so here's the 2 times 24. 2 times 12 makes 24, but I can't get a 5 out of it. 3 times 8 makes 24. Oh, I can get a 5 out of that. I'm going to have one of them be 8x and one of them be 3x. I want it to be negative, so I'm going to have to make this 3 negative, because this is a positive 5. So these are my terms, 8x and negative 3x. Let's go through and pull out what we have in common. We can see this is going to be an x and a 2x, because x times 2x makes 2x squared. Then this is going to have to be a 4. 2x times 4 is 8x. And then if I come over here, 4 times what makes negative 12? Well, that's going to be negative 3, and that works out nicely because negative 3 times x makes negative 3x. So these are my terms right here. We have x plus 4, and we have 2x minus 3 equals 0. That's my product of 0. Now that we have the equation written as a product of factors equal to 0, x plus 4 and 2x minus 3 equals 0. Okay, if I multiply these two terms together and I get 0, I know that either x plus 4 must equal 0, or 2x minus 3 must equal 0. So I'm going to solve for that. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides here, and I get x equals negative 4. Or, in this problem, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I'm solving for x. I get 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, x equals 3 halves, or 1 1/2. Okay? And that tells us that that these are my zeros, or where it's going to cross the x-axis. So if I come over here to the picture, I know it's going to cross at -4, and then 1.5 is about right there. So these are my roots of the equation. And one more piece will help me to draw this. I need to find the y-intercept. And remember, when I had the equation 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals 0, the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So let's plug in 2 times 0 squared plus 5 times 0 minus 12 equals, in this case we're going to say y, because that's just what you do, you change the 0 to y. And we're going to plug in, and we're going to get y equals -12. And I can come over here, but my graph, look at this, this is 10, my graph is way down here, that's my y-intercept, right? So it's going to go something like this. How do I know it's facing up? Because remember, in my equation, this was a positive, so I know it's going to open up. But I do need to find my vertex. One way to find the vertex is to go, okay, what is halfway between 4 and 1/2? What's halfway between 4 and 1/2? Well, I'm going to take 4 plus, or that's -4 plus 1.5, and I'm going to divide them by 2. You probably need to see what I'm doing. Divide them by 2. So I'm going to get, this is going to be -2.5 divided by 2, and that's -1.25. Now, why is that important? That's a way that I'm going to find the line of symmetry. So we're going to come over here. And what we did is we knew that both the -4 and the 1/2 hits at 0. So between them is going to be -1.25, which is somewhere right there. That's going to be our line of symmetry. So I have the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the line of symmetry. Well, why is the line of symmetry so important? Because that's going to be our value for the vertex. So we know that if I use the equation 2x squared, and I use my x value as -1.25, that's going to be my vertex. So I can figure out what the y value is. So 2 times -1.25 squared plus 5 times -1.25 minus 12, that will equal my y. So I'm going to plug that into the calculator, and I actually get y equals -15.25. That's what I get on the calculator. So this is not a good graph, because now my -15.25 is somewhere down here, and that's going to give me my parabola. And I'm going to go draw something like this. Okay, and there's my parabola. Okay, not difficult, but very doable. So let's just review. What is it that I was looking for? I've been looking for the x-intercepts, to x-intercepts I find the product rule. I look for the y-intercept by setting the x equal to 0. Once I know my zeros here, I can find what's in the middle, find the line of symmetry, and then I know that that's going to hit in the middle, and I can find my vertex. So if we look at the next page, okay, it's a lot of practice for finding the zero product property. Okay, here, compare the two equations below. And so what is it that we get? In this one, we're going to multiply. So we know that x plus 2 times x minus 1 equals 0, which means this has to equal 0, or x minus 1 has to be equal 0. So we're going to solve those two equations. In this problem, I'm going to actually have to add, and I'm going to get 2x plus 1 equals 0. And we're going to solve this problem. The important thing is when we are adding or we're multiplying, the multiplying is the most important. What is similar about these equations? They have the same numbers. But what's different is they have different operations. One of them is asking us to multiply, the other one is asking us to add. And so you're going to go through and you're going to solve them. You are going to finish this. You have to finish, subtract 2 from both sides, add 1 to both sides, subtract 1 and divide by 2. When you get down to here, in this problem, you're basically going to set each of these terms equal to 0 and then solve for them. And then number 3 is the one where you have to kind of copy what we just did on the previous note page for the explore part. And we will go over this one in a Zoom if you show up. Okay, you will get help for that. So right now you're going to go finish this page. 10 will be your homework.